Greetings, everybody. This is the Ordinal coming to you from somewhere in Mexico, somewhere nice in Mexico. And the title of today's sermon is Why I Left America and Should You as Well. So, on my last video, apparently somebody managed to watch it some way, somehow. And they made a comment saying that, you're spreading misinformation. Merida does have, crime, and there is racism and yada, 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 and all this other stuff. And, I told that person, look, I'm just talking about my own experiences, okay? I only been here a week. I'm just going off of what I see. And of course, the longer I stay, of course, some things will change. All right, so, thank you for watching the video. I appreciate it. But, it is what it is. So, today's sermon is why I left America and should you as well. Okay, so when I was living in America, I ran a cleaning company. And this cleaning company did pretty well. And the thing is, I was living in Los Angeles, California. And the cost of living in Los Angeles, California was through the roof. It was just astronomical. And that was a challenge. Buenos dias. That was a challenge to where I had a lot of clients that I didn't go up on rates because either they were losing work, lost work, or, when you get into a tight economy, you kind of have to see what you need and what you don't. Like, cleaning is almost a luxury. If you're not lazy, most likely you can do your own cleaning. You know what I mean? So I was pretty much going off the same rates that I did when I started in 2020, which was during COVID. I started during COVID, and I pretty much kept it at the same rates. I really didn't go up. And a lot of the customers that I had were customers that actually helped me get off the ground. So as a show of appreciation, I never changed the rates or went up on the rates or anything. Long story short, as time progressed, economy got worse and I lost work. You know what I mean? I had to let people go. Cost of goods was going up. I couldn't keep up with cost of goods. It came to a point to where I lost 80% of my work. This was about 10 months ago. If you see my first video in here, 10 months ago, I'm sitting in a car talking about I made $18 for the whole day driving Uber. That was my low point. And I didn't know how I was going to make it to December. We had Christmas coming up. I really don't celebrate Christmas, but children want gifts. You know what I mean? They see everybody else getting gifts. They want gifts. And of course, as I do this video, the loudest motor taxi in the whole city is gonna come past me. All right, there you go. So to make the long story short, I was at my lowest point. I had 2 car notes. One was $556, the other one was $721. I had a Ford Bronco Sport and a Chevy Colorado. My rent was $2,200 a month, and I was staying in the hood. I was living in a 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom apartment for $2,200 a month. My car insurance was $400 a month. I have life insurance, gas. I was spending about $150 a week to fill up both cars. So that's about 150 times. That's almost kind of close to $600 a month, right? And so I just had all these, I was spending thousands and thousands of dollars just to subsidize my life. And it's like I wasn't going on cruises. I wasn't out partying. I wasn't out buying useless stuff. This was just expenses just to go. And I haven't even gotten into grocery shopping yet. You're looking at $300 a week. That's to feed 4 people. You see what I'm saying? So between eating, cars, gas, rent, I haven't even gotten to the water bill. Which was hundreds of dollars. I mean, the power and water bill, which is hundreds of dollars. So with the economy failing, with me losing work, but my bills aren't going away. I'm not losing bills. I had to make a decision. I had to make a serious decision, and I was maintaining the bills. Don't get me wrong. I was paying my bills, but I was waking up every single day to work just to pay bills. I wasn't living. I was working 6 days a week, take the Shabbat off, working 6 days a week from pretty much the morning time to nighttime. 6 days a week. And for what? Just to pay bills, just to survive, just to live in the ghetto, just to live in the hood, to where I'm witnessing drug transactions, I'm witnessing degeneracy, I'm witnessing, prostitutes walking down the street. And on top of that, my kids have to stay inside the house because it's too dangerous to walk outside the house. You don't want a homeless person. Yeah, because we had a lot of homeless people, just roaming the streets. So you got homeless people roaming the streets, gangbangers, thugs, degenerates, prostitutes, all sorts of, maliciousness going on. And so I'm spending all this money for that. And to think about getting a house in a decent neighborhood that looks like this, forget about it. Forget about it. So I had to make a decision. My wife was looking at Cartes Ross, moving abroad and thrive. Yeah, you could move to a cheaper place in the United States, but then you're still dealing with United States issues. You're dealing with liberalism, and all these other type of things that I didn't really want my children exposed to. I didn't want my children exposed to rainbow activity. I didn't want my children exposed to different agendas that I don't agree with. And so we homeschool. But the thing is, as kids get older, they need to get out of the house. You can't lock them up in the house forever. You can't keep them locked in the house forever. And I wanted a place to where they can go out and live and be normal, interact with people and it be normal, not interact with a thug or somebody who's going to ask you where you from, or some broad, some, crazy broad or whatever that doesn't have any morals or no guidance. And you know what I mean? So we looked at Mexico, which I was a bit reluctant to, because you hear all the things you hear about Mexico. Oh, cartels, it may be racist. You know what I mean? You might get kidnapped. You might get extorted. The government's crooked. And a lot of that is true for some places, not all places. Not all of them. Some places, yes, that's true. But then again, in the United States, there's some places that are worse than Mexico that I've seen. There are some places in the United States that's worser than the worst part of Mexico. And so we looked at Mexico. We looked at everything that was going on with the country. Another thing I didn't like that was going on in the United States was every single day you have to get messages and hear about, oh, you need to prep food. Oh, you need to be able to prep weapons. Make sure you prep. Because we don't know when they're going to cut the electricity on us, and they cut off the gas stations and the grocery market. So make sure you stored up 6 months of food and all this other stuff. I got sick and tired of hearing about, oh, we might get hit by Russia. We might get hit by, North Korea or Iran, or United States is involved in another war. So that's going to take effect on the economy and blah, 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 blah. I got tired of all that. I got sick of all of that, man, because every single day, if it's not the news, it's somebody or some YouTuber give you the message that doom is coming to America. Doom is coming to America, and you have to be prepared. So I'm like, wait a minute. So if doom is coming to America, why don't I just leave? Why sit back and wait for the punch in the face when I could just duck and move out the way? And that's what I did. I ducked and I moved out the way. Now I'm here in Mexico. This country doesn't have beef with Iran. This country doesn't have beef with North Korea. This country doesn't have beef with, Russia and all this other nonsense. You know what I mean? So I just made the decision to get out the way. I let the bills go. I let the car notes go. I let the high car insurance go. I let the high rent go. I let the niggas go. I let the degenerates go. I let the prostitutes go. I let all the homeless situation go. I let the prepping and have to store up food and have to store up weapons go. I let the fears of, my kids or my wife can't walk down the street because some homeless man might try to knife them, or somebody might break into the apartment again, or somebody might break into the garage. I let all that go, and I got this in return. I got this in return. Birds chirping, serenity, tranquility. I don't have my kids. My kids can just run up and down the streets all night if they want to. And security, if they come close to the gate, security will stop them and call us and say, you know, we're sending them back home, or you can come to the gate and come get them. That's what I have. I have Mayberry. I let United States go, and I got Mayberry, and I love it. Now, is all parts of Mexico like this? Apparently not. We know that. But where I'm at is Mayberry. The neighbors came over last night. All our kids played together. They tore the place up, which is great. That's what they're supposed to do as kids. And we all walked each other back home. Not that we had to out of a security thing. We did it because we were just enjoying the scenery. So stay in the United States for what? A lot of people have fears. They stay in the United States because it's all they know. They don't know that the world is better outside. The world is better outside. Your media, your mainstream media, your legacy media will tell you this place is too dangerous, you shouldn't go. Or, your family members will tell you shouldn't go because maybe you don't know the language, or something will happen to it, whatever. No. And while you all stay stuck being wage slaves and miserable and just, walling around in misery when you could actually be living. Now I'm living. I don't have the stress of, am I going to lose an account? What if a client doesn't pay? How am I going to meet these bills? How am I going to meet these car notes? How am I going to meet, the rising cost of groceries? Because groceries were getting more. And on top of that, groceries, as if the food is even real. The food here is real. My kids have had issues, and now it's going away because they're eating better food here in Mexico. So ask yourself, are you dealing with any health issues? Are you dealing with the stress of everyday work? Are you dealing with the stress of being in a situation you don't want to be in? Are you stressed with being in a place you don't want to be? Are you stressed around being around neighbors and neighborhoods you don't want to be in? And if you are, make a plan. Make a plan and get out. Get out. America's my country. I'm a veteran. I served America. I fought in the war. I love America. That's my country, but it's not sustainable anymore. It is not sustainable anymore. And if you have a family, if you have kids, figure out an exit plan, because maybe that's just what time it is. There's a bigger world out there to where, you can live, you can thrive. Speaking of thrive, move abroad and thrive with Kartesh Ross. We're doing it. So far, so good. So far, no complaints. So far, no complaints. Now, is life perfect? No, of course not. But it's better than what I came from. Is the weather perfect? No, it's not. It's very humid sometimes. But I'd rather be humid here in tranquility than comfortable weather and have to duck bullets, or wonder if, the people who live in a building over across the street will get into a gunfight and one of the bullets rip through my kid's bedroom. I don't have those fears anymore. I don't have the fears of a homeless person jimmying his way into the building and camping out in the hallway anymore. Maybe you're not going through all that. Maybe today's sermon is to talk to those people who are going through that. And then there's people who have money, but they're not happy because they constantly have to make money to subsidize their lifestyle, to subsidize people who are depending on them. And sometimes it's just easy just to walk away from it, because all that takes a toll on your body. All that takes a toll on your mind. And the longer you stay on that wheel, the worse you will get. Well, all you had to do is just walk off the wheel. Now, do I advise moving somewhere? It doesn't have to be Mexico. It could be Africa. It could be, the Asia, it could be the Philippines, wherever, the islands, wherever. Have a plan. Have a plan. And so you may be worrying about, okay, so if I leave America, how am I going to feed myself? How am I going to feed my family? There's a bunch of online work you can do. You know, there's a bunch of businesses to where you can work remotely. You know, do I suggest moving to a country and getting a job? No. But if you have technical skills, like, you know, maybe you can teach English, or maybe, you know, you have a lot of, you know, skills that are, you know, sought after, that's one option. But if you're working like a 9 to 5 and, like, you know, you really don't, you have like blue collar, you know, well, blue collar skills like plumbing and stuff like that, that's cool. You can probably make a living doing that. It may be sparse, but if you don't even have that, open up a Shopify store. Open up a drop shipping store. You know what I mean? It doesn't take any skills for that. Get a Shopify account, look at some YouTube videos, and build that store. Save up some capital so you can pay for marketing and advertising, and put it towards that Shopify store. And once that Shopify store gets going, leave. And there you are. But know the language of the country you're going to, at least at a basic minimal level, and leave. And leave like they did the movie, leave the world behind. I think they were talking about America. Leave America behind. Because every single day they're talking about civil war. Every single day the Democrats and Republicans can't get along. Every single day, you know, Trump is challenging not challenging the Supreme Court, but, you know, he's in a beef with some portion of the government. You know, has he fixed a lot of things? He has. But there's a lot of people who aren't happy, and it's causing a lot of ruckus. It's causing a lot of ruckus in America. And people are getting angrier and angrier. Resources are getting fewer and fewer. And when that happens, it's gonna be chaos. It's gonna be war. It's coming. War is coming to an American front. It is. War is coming to the American front. And for the first time, that's what we'll be seeing. You know? Because America doesn't have the global hegemony it used to have. It doesn't. And other countries are becoming more emboldened to make their move on America. And a house divided against itself can't stand. That's what the Bible says. And America's fighting itself right now. And if America's fighting itself, is their prime pickings to get hit. So, looking at civil war, looking at, you know, enemies, looking at all the debauchery that's going on, why stay in it when you could be taking these walks, not necessarily with me, but taking these walks on your own and knowing that your family is in peace and safety. That's the sermon for today. Tomorrow, maybe we'll talk about something different. Time will tell. See you on the next video.